Hey everybody, this is Michael from Whoa. This is Michael from Brainy Face Project, and I've got a cool video here. I worked with Grok3 to create a game. What happens if you take Snake, the classic game, and combine it with asteroids? You get Snakeroids, which sounds like a medical condition or a snake that has pumped itself up on too many steroids and is super buff. So in this video, we're going to have a lot of fun. So stay tuned and let's get into it. Well, let me just tell you what this is, first and foremost. I wrote a game, and I wrote a game in a couple hours, which I'm actually not capable of doing. I know how to code, I know how to do the basics of it, but there's so much math involved in creating a game, and I don't have the time or patience to do it. But if I'm being honest with myself, I don't have the skill set. When I get into some of these advanced algorithms, I just kind of stop and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I can write some cool stuff. I've been working in IT for almost my whole life, but I had so much fun yesterday using Grok3. And in this video, I'm going to talk about Grok3 a little bit. I'm sure you're hearing a lot of people talk about Grok3. It seems like with artificial intelligence that you just have to wait like a day and there's huge news, sometimes multiple stories in the same day. Well, there's a big story this week about Grok3, and I got access to it. When I sat down last night and I just thought, well, I'm going to do a game. I'm going to see how hard it is. I had so much success so quickly. It really outshined anything I've been able to do with these other large language models. Anthropic Claude, you've got Copilot, you've got Cursor, these are great, and they've done a good job as I played with those. You've got OpenAI with their 4.0 model and their O1 and their O3 mini, and you've just got so many different models available to you now. DeepSeek as an open source model. Man, it's so hard to keep track of all of these things, and I'm always kind of vectoring in on like which one is going to help me do the things that I really like to do. And I've always wanted to be able to create a game of my own super fast, and it doesn't need to be like super high resolution graphics. I started out on 8-bit systems, so the graphics don't need to be good. And I still think some of those games like Dig Dug and Space Invaders and Missile Command and Pac-Man, and the list goes on and on. They're just so much fun. Donkey Kong. There's so many cool games. They're really simple games. The graphics aren't much to look at, and it's really about that gameplay. So when I think about writing a game like that myself, it's just like I can't go there because I don't have the mathematical chops. I could probably get there, but I don't have the time to do that. And the feeling that I had with Grok3 yesterday is it's kind of like if you could afford to just pay somebody, like pay a developer to just do fun things for you. You go, hey, I want you to write a game, and the game needs to start out like this. And if you did that in real life, you probably have to spec the whole thing out. What's the objective? And you define all the criteria. You submit that. They code it. They get things done. They do their troubleshooting. And it's a process, because then they hand you a product and then you play it and you say, I don't like this. It didn't turn out the way I liked. This process went on, and I'm going to show this to you, for an hour last night, a couple of hours. And I just had so much fun, because what I found is like I kept thinking of how I could develop the game even better. And I would just ask Grok3 to do it, and it would do it. And I'm not done yet. I'll probably continue to tweak this game that I created a little bit more, but it's almost there. And I'll show it to you. I'm going to play the game here pretty quickly. But let's just back up a little bit here first, because there is a platform now called Grok3. It's available from XAI. And earlier this week, the team at XAI gave a demo. This was on February 17th. They actually gave a demo. And during that demo, they talked about a lot of the cool things that can be done. and they wrote some cool graphing functions like let's land a rocket on Mars and then return the rocket from Mars to Earth at the next available opportunity, like the right window to do that. And it actually wrote the code and it plotted out a graph. That was one of the things that they did. The other thing that they did, which really caught my attention, is they created a game. And the game that they created was kind of a combination between Tetris, tried and true classic, who doesn't love Tetris, and Bejeweled. A lot of people play Bejeweled, some haven't, but Bejeweled is a game where you have to like match three things, different jewels in a row, and it's really fun. It's super addictive. But man, what if you took those two things and you combined them together? And I think they called it Betetris. They combined it together and called it Betetris. And so when I started last night, I kind of had this idea of combining a couple different things together. You know, when you combine things together, like you got a spoon and a fork, it's a spork. If you combine Bombay and Hollywood, you get Bollywood. You get hungry and angry, you get hangry. If you got a brain and a maniac, you got a brainiac. So I kind of thought, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a game with Grok. And it didn't start out this way, but we created Snakeroids. And Snakeroids is a lot of fun. You got the classic game Snake, where you've got this little dot that moves around the screen, and it gets longer and longer, and you eat pellets to stay alive. You eat the food on the screen, and the tail just keeps getting longer and longer. And then when you kind of run into yourself, the game is over, right? Or you bump into something and the game is over. So how long can you last? It's one of those games. But one of the games that I really liked a lot growing up is Asteroids. Man, I pumped a lot of quarters into that machine. And I really liked Asteroids a lot. So it started out with a simple concept of combining the Snake game with Asteroids, and it was so basic when I started out, but I had so much fun creating it that at the end I ended up creating Snakeroids. So let's just back up here for a second. I want to show you the clip here from the Grok3 demo that they did earlier this week.
Switch to those and show you something that's presentable. Right, so we're kicking off the other two as well. And like I said, we have a second problem as well. Yeah, actually one of our favorite activities here at XCI is having Grok write games for us. Not just any old game, any game that you might already be familiar with, but actually creating new games on the spot and being creative about it. So one example that we found was really, really fun is create a game that's a mixture of the two games, Tetris and Bejeweled.
So this is maybe an important thing. Like this, obviously, if you ask an AI to create a game like Tetris, there are many examples of Tetris on the internet that have, or a game like Bejeweled, whatever. It can copy it. What's interesting here is it achieved a creative solution combining the two games that actually works and is a good game.
Yeah,
we're seeing the beginnings of creativity.
Yeah. Fingers crossed that we can recreate that.
Hopefully it works. Yeah.
Hopefully it works.
Embarrassing if it doesn't.
So actually, because this is a bit more challenging, we're going to use something. I'm curious what this combination of Tetris and Bejeweled looks like. Betetris, as we've named it internally. Okay, we also have an output from Grok here. It says what a Python script explains that is what it's been doing. If you look at the code, there's some constants that are being defined here, some colors, then the trominoes, the pieces of Tetris are there. Obviously, very hard to see at one glance if this is good, so we gotta run this to figure out if it's working. Well, let's give it a try. Fingers crossed. All right. So this kind of looks like Tetris, but the colors are a little bit off, right? The colors are different here, and if you think about what's going on here, Bejeweled has this mechanic where if you get 3 jewels in a row, then they disappear, and also gravity activates, right? So what happens if you get 3 of the colors together? Oh yeah, so something happened. So I think what Grok did in this version is that once you connect at least 3 blocks of the same color, in a row, then gravity activates and they disappear, and then gravity activates and all the other blocks fall down. Kind of curious if there's still a Tetris mechanic here where if the line is full, does it actually clear it, or what happens then? It's up to interpretation, so who knows?
Yeah, it'll do different variants when you ask it. It doesn't do the same thing every time.
Exactly. We've seen a few other the Tetris that worked very differently, but this one seems cool. So, yeah.
Are we ready for?
That's what they did, is they created their Tetris, and so let's take a look here at the game itself. I'm just going to pop the game up here, and we're going to play this. So I'm going to go in. Well, actually, let me start here by just showing you the basic environment that I've got. If I go over here, I've got the initial conversation in Grok3. Okay, so I started out here with a request. Can you write a game using Pygame that is Snake, but there's a ball that slowly moves around the screen, and when it hits an edge, it bounces off the edge. If the snake hits the ball breaks apart into smaller pieces. It should be one bouncing ball, that should be one bouncing ball at the beginning that is fairly large and should split up a maximum of 5 times. On the last time, the ball clears. When all the pieces clear, the snake automatically gets shorter by a few pieces. Okay. It wrote the code, and it just spilled the code on the screen super fast, and it worked, but it was so basic. I'm not going to waste your time by showing you the evolution of the game. What I can show you here is that I've got all of these different iterations of the game. If I go and I look at the directory, what I did is every time I made a change, I would actually name the game something else. So it started out here as like just the Snake game, and then it became Snake Game 2. And I ended up then doing like 30 different versions until I got the game where I wanted it. And that might sound like a lot, but it literally, like, it's just copy and paste. I would make a request, like, I would just go back here. Let's see what I've got. The implementation, it gives a really nice summary and everything too. Like, there's logic. It walks you through what it did. So there's a summary at the end, and I didn't have to tell it things like use the cursor keys for navigation. I did actually have some trouble because I have Python installed on my system, and that's a prerequisite. Like, you got to run the game on something. And so using Python as the platform, I had some issues, and I didn't want to screw up my existing installation of Python. And so it helped me do that. So it did the troubleshooting, and I followed the steps, and bam, I had a Python environment, and then the game just ran. But if I go in to the conversation with Grok3, you can see that as I go down here, more troubleshooting. Like, this was me, this was user error because I forgot to type in a certain command, but this was just getting the ball rolling. And once I got the actual environment working, then I started in with things like, the game works, but I want to make some changes. Pressing the spacebar toggles the game from play mode to pause mode. After all of the balls are cleared on the screen, the snake changes color and more balls appear. The new balls move faster each time the entire set is cleared. And they were just literally like super simple little balls on the screen and a square. And I just kept doing that over and over again. I just kept asking it, could you make this change? Could you make that change? Let me just, I'm going to wheel down here and see what one of the later changes were. I just kept coming up with these ideas like, oh, this would be fun. That would be fun. Okay, and then I wanted a bucket. Like, I ended up introducing lasers in so you could shoot lasers and you could break up the asteroids that way. And so I said, that's better. Let's make the bucket gray, though, instead of cyan. And when the player fails to run over the bucket, I like the animation you created. They won't get another opportunity to run over another laser bucket until the game situation is such that the player ran over the square. Okay, so, like, I'm just explaining what I want to have happen. And then it wrote all of the code to do all of the things that I described. When I was talking before about the math, I mean, just like take a look at this right here. I'm I'm not smart enough to just do this off the top of my head, and I'd have to really sit there and figure it out. It's like formulas in Excel where you have to break it apart and figure out like what the heck is going on here, and it takes a long time to do it. This would have taken me weeks. And if I had even worked with somebody else, even if they were a super fast developer, there would have been a lot of back and forth, probably emailing and stuff like that. Plus, I did this late last night. I was like from 9 to 11 p.m. or something like that is what happened. So anyway, this is basically what I did. I'm going to go back over here to this screen. You can see the environment again that I've got. And one of the things that I ended up doing along the way too is it was so much fun that I said I want to have sound effects as well. So hopefully it'll record the sound effects. What I did is I took some sound effects from a subscription samples library that I have. So I subscribed to a service online, and I just found a bunch of sounds that I liked, and I just threw them in here, and I asked it like write code so when this happens actually have sound effects. So let's go ahead and let's run the game here. I'm gonna open this up. I'll show you real quick how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go back into this environment. I'm just gonna type in Python, and then it's gonna be snakegame30.py. And if I hit enter, hopefully this will pop up on the screen. Cool. All right. So now I've got my Snakeroids application, and I've got a little title screen that I put in here with instructions, basic stuff. Press any key to play. You press S to shoot the laser, space to pause, and then, oh, I also created a nuke at one point because when, like I told it, get faster and faster, you know, as the game gets deeper into the different kind of levels, then the game gets faster and faster. And so if you press the X key, it nukes everything on the screen. And then stick around to the end too. Like if you want to, I created an Easter egg. So when you're coding, you can put an Easter egg, something that's hidden that people don't generally know about. But if they find it, it unlocks a cool thing. Like Mario Brothers and a ton of games have Easter eggs in them. And I love Easter eggs. So I put an Easter egg in. I'll just show you the Easter egg specifically. And talk a little bit more about it. Yeah, so anyway, let's go ahead and play the game here. I've got scoring at the top. Right now I'm just shooting the laser to break up the asteroids. If I bump into the asteroid, it breaks up into the smaller pieces like that. And I can shoot each one of these smaller pieces. Laser goes across the screen. I did set it up so that the snake can fly through. It's kind of like in Pac-Man where you can go through the tunnel. It just played a lot better. I did some different variants. And so you can shoot multiple times. When you shoot too many times, you run out of lasers. And then you only have 10 seconds to get to this new laser bucket over here on the side of the screen. And when you do that, it fills up your lasers again. So I've got 6 more lasers. Let me clear screen. Oh, I cleared screens because I got the asteroids. But, oh, geez, there you go. Okay, so I missed I ran out of lasers, so the laser bucket appeared, so I grabbed that. Let me do a chomp here. Whoops. Okay, so now I got food. And then I had it set up where the food is basically when you eat the pellets. And then you take the food score times the number of times that you've cleared the screen, and that gives you your score over at the edge. So let me go ahead and try to shoot this. Okay, so it's fun because you can just go ahead and start to shoot a lot. You get the clears. Oop, and then I have this ship that comes in. Kind of like asteroids. Okay, so when you do that, that's it's fun. You get the ship. And oh, I'm out of lasers. So I'm going to do that. How do I get a nuke? Well, you get a nuke by doing enough clears. Right now I've got 5 clears on the screen. And so let me go ahead here and see if I want to. When I have a bunch of things on the screen, I can just hit nuke and then it just destroys everything. It blows everything up on the screen. But I got to get a nuke first to use it. Oh, I got 1 left, but I got to get my lasers. That'll make it easier to hit that. Oh God, I suck. I suck at my own game. Okay, so for every 6 clears that you get 1 nuke. So let me go ahead and I'm going to shoot these. I'll get another clear, but now I'm going to bump into these. And so now I've got a bunch of these on the screen. And it's only when you go head on, it's the head of the snake. Oh, I'm out of lasers, so let me get the laser bucket. Now this is a lot to chase, so I'm just going to press X and bam, I get the nuke. Okay, so if I press the pause key on the keyboard then, I mean, all this stuff was built in. I just literally asked it to create the code, and just through this iterative process, then I ended up creating the game. So yeah, it was super, super fun to create that game. Now, I'm gonna go in here and I'll show you the little Easter egg thing here. This was kind of cool because I thought with the pellet, that's up on the top of the screen here, you can eat it. That's kind of the point, right? So that's your food. And if you do that, oh, I better get this guy again. Okay, so I thought I can shoot things, but what if I shoot this? It tucks it along the side of the wall, and I can actually put it into the corner. And so the Easter egg that I did is the upper left was 1, the upper right was 2, the lower left was 3, and the lower right was 4. It's kind of like on the old Mario game with Super Mario Brothers, where when you had the flag at the end of the level, you could jump off, and if you grab the flag when the timer was like 6, you'd get 6 explosions, and then if you had like 3, you'd get 3 explosions. 1 would give you 1 explosion. That kind of stuck in my head, and I wanted to do something similar. So if it's in the lower right hand corner, that's like the 4th block on the screen. Notice I have 5 lasers right now. If I drop down to 4 lasers, it turns into an Easter egg, and then I can get the Easter egg. And what that does is it resets my lasers, and it gives me a nuke each time I do that. So I can just, it's kind of like a little sub mini game that I can create there. I've got a nuke. Let me just clear those. Oop, ran out of lasers. So, all right. So anyway, this is Grok3. What is the implication for this? This is the thing that I want to wrap my head around, and one of the things that I want to do on the channel here is I want to kind of take some of this large language model stuff that's out there and show some practical applications and things that are fun. You know, I'll probably do a video on just the primer on artificial intelligence, and then talk about all the different things that you probably want to know, because here's my thinking on this. And if you're in the AI space, you're on YouTube here, you're probably already up to speed on a lot of things. There are some incredible channels that I follow all the time on artificial intelligence, and there's so many people doing that. I really respect what they're doing. I want to kind of do my own flavor of this and, you know, demonstrate some of the things that you can do with artificial intelligence, and just provide another perspective on how important it is to stay on top of what's happening. Because mark my words, in the next 3-5 years or so, the world's going to look a lot different. The pace that we're seeing AI innovate it's just rapidly evolving. It's on this exponential logarithmic curve, and what they did in like 2 years at XAI to go from not a company to actually training these models and getting over 100,000 plus GPUs working together to train, and they continue to train this, like new features are going to be coming out on like a weekly basis with all these different models. So I'm in this space all the time, and so in this channel on Brainy Face Project, we're going to create little projects like this, and I really appreciate any feedback you have. If you have questions on things, I'll try to answer them. There's, you know, not a ton of time to go in and answer every single question, but I'm going to make a point of trying to get in and interact with the community. And then also for those of you on Brainy Face Project who came along with HX300 and HX400, those Sony cameras, those videos that I did like 10, 15 years ago, we're going to dig into that stuff as well. And then we're going to use AI to actually go in and enhance some of those images. So I'm going to try to find my cameras. I don't have my 300 and 400 camera. As I mentioned before, I've got this project going on where I'm cleaning up a bunch of stuff, going through and sorting things. So I'm going to hopefully find that. And if I find it, I'll record the process of finding it. And then we'll kind of dust off the old cameras, and we'll use some AI as well to enhance our videos and our audio as well. So if you like this video and you like this kind of style of just, you know, pulling up, having some fun on things, talking through this, please give me a like. What I found here on the video that I did with the Kindle, and the issue with the Kindle is, man, it just sat there, you know, for a long time, and then it just, like, I get it now, that the algorithm, it explodes all of a sudden when the algorithm finds your video, however that happens, whatever the secret sauce is. And I think one of the keys is just, you know, liking it. So if you're not subscribed, that would help. But I'm really going to try to build this channel up, build this community out. I'm looking forward to doing it with you. So thanks a lot. Take care. See you soon.